So the players were told that they had to play on laptops that were basically blowing molten heat out of them because they were running so hot trying to run Overwatch.
He wouldn't do it. He's like, no, Scott, I talked to MBK, and the France players want the stream time. And I was like, you are full of shit. You're lying to me. So now, moving on, Jason proposed to us, worst esport event that you have worked, and for us to pontificate a little bit about not fun memories. Who's going first, Jason? Oh, I guess I'm going first. Okay.
You go first. Go
All
on.
right.
Yours is amazing. I remember this.
Okay. My worst event that I worked is the World Cup 2015. TWC 2015. Yeah, oh yeah, World Championship, not World Cup. It's modeled after the World Cup. It was a country by country, represent your country Counter-Strike tournament.
Counter-Strike, yeah.
Counter-Strike Global Offensive. It was Global Offensive. Run by Hitbox TV and Dr. Failure, as I call him. Dr. Failure is his tag, but right after that event, he was.
Even was like,
Yeah, before it's I'm caught up on my cord. My cord's all fucked up. Dr. Failure ran this event. Fledgling little caster himself. Worked for EFrag, was who kind of hired us, but they were on the Hitbox TV platform. If you remember, that was a streaming platform. And granted, I've had some fucked up ones, but this one was by far the worst. I wrote some notes. So again, this was a Counter-Strike tournament. You represented your country. Like fucking Apex was there. And, like fucking all these guys were, all our pros were there. Nightmare from fucking the get-go. So here's just a little B-roll. It was me and the crew. This is the crew that kind of traveled the world for a while. Me, Thor, and Richard. Yanko,
your best buddy.
Yeah.
Your best mate's there on your left, mate.
Not so much anymore. Yanko and I still get along. Hey, Yanko, shout out, bro. Yanko, I think this might have been actually Yanko's first analyst event. Might have been his first analyst event, if not one of his first. So anyway, so I get off the plane. I get to the hotel. We're in Belgrade, Serbia, I think. Hotel's nice, fancy.
Brilliant.
No, not Berlin. Not Berlin. It's definitely, I want to say Serbia or Belgrade.
Brilliant, I said.
Oh, brilliant, yeah. And nice hotel. So I'm like, okay, this is going to be good. And all my stuff with Dr. Failure in advance was fine. When I ran desks, I always got asked who I wanted, which was great. I don't know if everyone always gets that, but I always got to pick who sat next to me. So yeah, shout out to
yes, the real old boys club is right here on your screens, everyone.
Yeah, they were always like, who do you want to be next to? I'm like, if you can get this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy, we work well together. I love him on the desk. Yeah, oh yeah. I didn't always get what I wanted, or they didn't want to hire or whatever. But anyway, so that's all going good. He gets a good, solid crew of talent, right? Some new kids. Blue's coming for his first Counter-Strike event. But anyway, all good. So I check in. I'm like, oh, nice hotel, all good. And then I bump into Jay Atkins. Jay Atkins is a behind-the-scenes director, producer, TD, all sorts of stuff over the years. English guy, worked for a bunch of companies, and he's been hired to be production director or producer. I don't know what his official title was, but I bump into him in the hotel lobby, and I'm like, hey, Jay. He's been there for like a day or so. I'm like, Jay, how's it going? And he's already fucking lost his mind. He's already beside himself. He's already like, I don't know why I'm here. I don't want to be here. I'm like, oh, God. Because he's the guy in my ear. He is our conduit, right? We're in an Eastern European country. They don't all speak English. He's the guy. He's in my, again, he's the behind-the-scenes guy for us, right? And we're not even fucking in the building yet, and he's lost his shit, right? And it turns out that then the reason he's losing his shit is they don't get the venue till like 7 p.m. the day before the event, so not enough load-in time. He's going to work all night to load in. He has been told now that the gear is all changed. They've now brought in a really old Eastern European TV truck. So all his videos, all his audios, everything he's brought has to actually be re-rendered to work in their system, right? It's not OBS. It's not being run that way. It's fucking it's not even expressions and shit like production talk. But everything's wrong. So he has to redo all the graphics, redo all the lower thirds, redo fucking the show when it comes to the assets, right? And I'm like, oh, fuck. Oh, God, Jay. Oh, Jesus Christ. Okay. So he goes off and, is doing his thing. I walk over and, to the event. That's when I find out we don't even have the event yet. There's shit still from the other event. They're not even loading in yet. I'm like, oh my fucking God. Because you got to load a stage in. You got to, it's just, I'm like, oh shit. And this isn't like ESL who's used to flipping an arena, right? This is eFrag. They don't do this kind of shit yet. So I'm like, oh, these kids are going to have some issues. A lot of volunteers, right? And it just keeps getting worse. So then I'm like, hey, where's the green room? Where do we set up? Where do we watch the matches once we're done with our segment? No green room, Scott. I'm like, what do you mean no green room? And I'm not trying to be like an egotistical, like fucking talent person. I'm like, where do we watch the matches? I need to watch the matches to talk about the matches. Where do we sit and watch? Oh, well, you could sit in the arena. Okay, if we sit in the arena, we'll constantly be bugged by the fans in the arena. Where can we watch the matches, talk, prepare for the show? We need a fucking closet. We need somewhere away with a TV so we can see the song. The doctor scrambles. He finds a fucking seating area out in the lobby, the foyer of the event where people are walking to and from, escalators going down. There's 2 levels it's a theater, right? And so, like, oh, we can put you right here. Couches, and there's already a little viewing station. We'll just rope this off, and this can be your spot. And I'm like, so wait, so now you're telling me that our spot to watch and talk and prep the show and eat and fucking debrief and get our makeup done is right next to where all the fans are walking in and out of the vent all day long? Not good. Not good for anything. Because, again, it'll be like, hey, Scoots, hey, Thorin. Like, they'll all get bugged. They're far more popular than me, right? So that, no green room. So then they're like, well, you're just going to have to, like, we were in the upper deck of the theater, right? That shot that Jason shows, we're in the upper deck of the theater, right at the edge. So our desk and us, and down below is the theater. So then they're like, well, you'll just have to sit in the upper deck and watch from up there. The upper deck is closed. We'll keep your area closed so no one bugs you in your area so you can just watch from there. So now I'm like, okay, great. So now I get to hear the loud fucking shit in the room all day. When I'm like we get we're here. So I would literally walk 2 feet and sit in a row of chairs, right? Now here's where that gets fucked up, right? And Thorin went off on this. And I had a long rant on my Twitch channel, but I deleted all my Twitch VODs when the fucking DMCA apocalypse was happening. So my long rant is gone, but I think Thorin, and I think By the Numbers has a rant on it that I was on. But basically what ended up happening is we would then sit in our seats to watch. We do our segment, throw it to the casters, we go watch the match. They had these fucking ballyhoo lights, these orange fucking lights that would do this thing. Teams are coming out, and then they'd go woof, and they would be right at that upper deck in our eyes. So now we're trying to watch a fucking screen with lights. Oh, it was fucking migraine inducing, right?
Yeah, fucked.
It was so fucked up, dude. I think I just ended up staying at my desk and looking at the little shitty program monitor, right? It was just a fucking nightmare, right? Not done, though. So
this guy didn't go quietly, did he? He was not graceful about it, the surveiller guy.
So how it all started for me was I show up in the desk, like, I shit you not, I stand at that desk. I stood at the desk. Oh, God, I'm wrapped up here. I stood at the desk. And
do you need help? Do you need me in there?
No, I stood at the desk, and before they lowered it, and this desk they had built was like this to me. And I'm like, is this a standing desk or a sitting desk? And they're like, oh, no, there's a stool there. Sit. And I sit, and it's like that. I'm like, this is literally our fucking desk. They had to, because what they did, it was, again, in a theater. So they built kind of on the front row the desk, and we were on the very edge, with the audience, parapet behind us. They had to fucking build a whole thing for us. They chopped off a foot of the desk. Again, it was a terrible, shaky desk. And then, I'm not done. So what's really important to us on the desk is audio, right? We need to hear each other when we're talking to each other. Even if you're in the same room, you often cannot hear each other because there's audio going, there's music going. There might be a guy in a foreign language giving a raffle on the stage down below. So we often need each other right in our ears, even though, like, Thorin is right next to me and Richard, they're all right next to me. So we all have, like, little cough boxes or audio boxes, right? And that whole system was a fucking nightmare. They could never get the hum out of my ears. So, like, for literally 4 days...
Okay.
Like this ground hum.
No.
This ground hum would never fucking go away from my box.
Literally, I have a device in my hand right now that is supposed to just
I was explaining. I'm like, you need a fucking humbuckler. Foreign language. Oh, it was me and the audio guy. He fucking hated me. Because then I would get it figured out. I'd be like, okay, if I move the cord here, like sometimes ground loops are based on if they're landing on power, like if it's just laying on a power cord and shit. So I would figure out my box, and then commercial break would happen, and I'd go to the bathroom, and I'd come back up, and the fucking sound guy was in front of my box. I'm like, what are you doing? No, leave my box alone. No, it's fine. It's fucking fine. It is not, and I couldn't hear Jay, so like comms back and forth of what to throw to, and when we were muted, they kept not unmuting us in time, so I'd have to repeat my opening, or even worse, we would be unmuted and didn't know it, and I'd be, hey, Thorin, what the fuck? And all of a sudden, we'd be in the entire fucking building. I'd be like, oh my fucking God, I'm unmuted. So
getting hot mic
hot mic'd with like left and right, thank God, nothing horrible, because that's a crew you don't want to be hot mic'd around. This was back in, I wrote a whole bunch of notes, Jason. This is back in the day when gamblers were still DDoSing servers if they were losing the bet. And you had to have DDoS. I mean, you still need DDoS protection, but now it's more standard. They had no DDoS protection in the building. So the teams were getting DDoSed they were getting DDoSed. And it was bad. It was when it was really bad in Counter-Strike Global Offensive. We had a while there where IPs were being leaked and people were fucking with servers, DDoSing fucking shit. So it got leaked. They got DDoSed. I had this argument with the failure one night. And I was like, the last match of the night, just have them play offline, bro. It's already late. The players have to get up early. We have to get up early. This has already been a cluster. Just let them play this last match. It was France. Let them play offline. And you work on your fucking production. You work on DDoS. You work on Jay getting some fucking food and rest. He wouldn't do it. He's like, no, Scott. I talked to MBK, and the France players want the stream time. And I was like, you are fucking full of shit. You're lying to me. And he was lying to me. MBK never said that to him. Nathan, you give a fuck.
MBK is not that kind of person.
Like, none of them are, right? Like, I don't know a Counter-Strike player that would ever fucking say, oh, no, we'll play through shitty DDoS conditions so we can be on Hitbox TV that night. They needed the match, right, to be on TV, on Hitbox, right? And it was just like, okay, now you're just fucking flat out lying to me, right? And now I'm wrapping this segment up, and we'll get to yours. And then, because again, basically the biggest problem with the whole goddamn thing was this show was all about the doctor and when he could stream, when he could be on air, because he was a caster as well. So he worked himself into casting matches, and he was nowhere near the tier of the boys in the building with him, right?
It was awful.
Yeah,
it was
awful. Yeah. And then where it got really bad, and I even fucking warned James and DDK, I go, you watch. He's going to tell you or ask you if it's a cool idea if he can TriCast with you all, right? Because TriCast is a horrible idea unless the three people on the TriCast are in sync, they know each other, they work well together, they've done it before, they know how to TriCast. You can't jab Doctor of Failure next to DDK and fucking Bardoff, who have a really good fucking vibe, and expect a good TriCast. So we go round and round on this. James doesn't care to make a big enough stink, but he brings it up. He's like, I don't know, that's going to be good for chemistry, you know, and same with DD, because it's not, right?
Really? Because James seems like he's quite capable of kicking up a stink about casting.
Well, James is hungover that day. Oh, is Bardoff in there? I don't know if Bardoff remembered. Yeah. Bardoff was fucking hung as a motherfucker, didn't care. Like, they have this, I'm going to pronounce it wrong.
That means something different where I'm from.
Yeah, he was pissed, hung over.
He's a motherfucker. Okay.
Reiki, is it someone who's been there? It's Reiki. It's a clear, like, it's not like Raikou. It's that's a. It's fucking like drinking fucking grain, method. Fucking gasoline, right?
Yeah, I know the stuff.
And different countries there call it something different, but thank you. There's James. James, you remember this, right? James is literally, this is funny. James was so fucked up from the night before that he's laying in our row of like where we watch, like the fucking theater row, and I'm looking down and I'm like, you can't let him fucking cast, bro. He's gonna TriCast. And James, I'm glad you're in chat. James is looking up going, Scott, I don't even care about anything right now, let alone.
To be fair, if I was as big as James, I'd probably think I could drink, a whole bottle of rakia as well.
Oh, and he's got like, he tweeted like this fucking server tray of nothing but shots, right? And I was like, oh, you poor fucking bastard. Anyway, so there you go. Went out with his video producer who he managed. And yeah, he got fucked up. Anyway, what ends up being solved is we're not going to do a TriCast, but what we'll do is we'll just swap out casters during maps because, you know, when you've got a final and one set of casters doing one map and one set of casters doing the other map is no continuity issue, no storyline issue. It's just fine.
Sure.
At that point, we're all like, whatever the fuck you want to do. None of us are working for you ever fucking again. So that's what they end up doing. They do a rotating thing. And basically, at the end of the day, I think I called him on those podcasts, basically just a delusional fuckwad. Like his fucking thoughts of grandeur about himself. And again, like, it was a bummer because where it's a bummer is the volunteers got treated like shit, but the volunteers themselves, the kids that helped us, that ran around, got us food that I bought and paid for, were fucking amazing, right? They were fucking amazing. A lot of his volunteers that had other areas just fucking stopped showing up, right? Admin stopped showing up, people down in the pit stopped showing up, but the guys that were kind of in charge of keeping an eye on us just kept showing up, thank God, you know? But again, just treated like fucking ass. Hitbox, great. No longer with us, obviously, as a company. Very apologetic to us during this whole thing about him and his behavior and shit. It was just a big bummer. Because the bummer for me was not that the event was shitty, because I've done shitty events and you have shit go wrong. I still really like this idea of the World Cup idea, countries playing countries. It's really hard to do in Counter-Strike or any big esports because of the travel schedules and how big the Tier 1 schedule is already full. But I really like that idea, the WCG, the Esports World Cup, of once a year you come together and you represent your country in these games. I thought that was neat. So I was really excited to do one for him. And then I think they did one more in 2016, but obviously I had nothing to fucking do with it. So that's my worst esport event ever.
Dude.
Yeah, and I'm sorry it took forever to tell you, but you all deserve that fucking pain. Now, Mitch, let's talk about yours.
No. I want to put this in chat first because Avela basically, after the stuff that happened at the World Championships, he was like trying to make it as a caster. And he cast an event in like Take TV. And he posted on Reddit asking for feedback about his casting at this random event that he did. But this was after the nonsense with the World Cup. So I'm going to put this in chat. Go and look at that thread and see what people's opinions of Dr. Avela were following that event. It's a fucking hoot. It's incredible that he went to Reddit to get some feedback on his casting and people just wanted to shit on him for the disaster of an event.
Yeah, and obviously I was a big, bad, mean guy to him and got it all wrong. And no, dude, I didn't get shit wrong. I fall on swords when I deserve to fall on swords. But that one was, this shit, you fucked that all up. Correction, the runners didn't spend their own money. He would give them no money to buy us food, like simple craft services shit that you do for talent. Water, beverages of choice, not even fine dining. Like they would run to McDonald's, they'd run to KFC. They would give him no petty cash. They would give these kids no petty cash, and it would take them forever to figure out how to get the money from this staff, this staff. So I would literally go, here's 100, fucking get what these guys, like I was buying our fucking bevies. And again, I wouldn't spend a lot of money, but it was like, we had no time to fucking get it figured out. So it was like, here's money, go get it. Here's what Duncan likes, Rockstar, whatever you can, you know. I was like, but that's not our fuck. Like, it was just like, that was just, and that's minor, right? But it was just like, God damn it, dude. At least take care of your volunteers, right? It was horrible. And those kids were fucking rock stars. Anyway, let's talk about this MSI event that I guess never happened.
Okay. We're talking about my one. That's fine. So yeah, I mean, I've had some shitty events in my time. To be fair, to be honest, one of the worst is like one of the Overwatch World Cups, and that was actually Blizzard's fault. But you know, that's another story. This was definitely the worst. So back before the Overwatch League kicked off. For those that don't know, I'm an Overwatch League caster, and I was one of the first. I think I cast the second ever Overwatch tournament that existed, and that happened to be a day after the game came out in closed beta. That's how fucking sweaty I was. This event occurred before the Overwatch League during a time where Blizzard allowed third-party tournament organizers to run licensed events for Overwatch. And this was MSI, who had partnered, I believe, with, you know, Overwatch in multiple ways in the past. They'd run a bunch of events in Southeast Asia. This was the MSI Masters Gaming Arena. It was going to be a LAN tournament held in conjunction with Gfinity at their setup in Stamford Bridge in the United Kingdom. They ran regional qualifiers and had some of the best teams of the pre-Overwatch League era competing. Tempo Storm, Ninjas in Pajamas were there. I think Luminosity were involved. There's a bunch of really top teams. This is pretty short. I'll keep it pretty short. So I go there. I head off over to this event and do it. And I realized that it's actually not... There's a little bit something funny going on because MSI are there, right? They've got a few people there. Gfinity are also there, but there's someone in between all of this. A Lithuanian tournament organizer who is dealing with the planning of the event. They pitched for it. They brought on Gfinity to obviously provide the services for them. Right? Kongdu Panthera, for the first time, we were going to get to see them play, outside of South Korea. This is like one of the most hyped teams. Had some of the biggest players of that particular era. So very exciting. Only 4 teams were going to go there. I was going to cast for Sideshow, I think. So a couple of problems. First, these Lithuanian guys had no idea what they were doing. Just fucking absolutely clueless. They didn't realize that the tournament format didn't make a lot of sense. The scheduling was bad. And they didn't really know how to be the liaison between MSI, who is the vendor, or who is sort of the sponsor. They're putting up the money for this, presumably, and then Gfinity, who are great. The Gfinity guys were fucking awesome, genuinely. MSI wanted this tournament played on their latest flagship gaming laptop that couldn't get 125 frames in Overwatch. So the players were told that they had to play on laptops that were basically blowing molten heat out of them because they were running so hot trying to run Overwatch, which is a hard game to run, to be fair. Sure. And they're like, we're not fucking doing this. We actually had half of a game that happened. And it was NIP versus Rise. And they were getting frame skip, all this terrible stuff. It was awful. So we stopped the games. It was like supposed to be like 2-3 days of gameplay. We never finished the first game. Because after that, I think MSI eventually relented and allowed Gfinity to bring out their stock of PCs the players could game on, and they would leave the laptops on the desks. So they would basically take up a bunch of space the players were otherwise going to use for their mouse and keyboard, because this laptop just had to fucking be there. Even though it was a dummy, they had actual screens on the tables. It was a fucking disaster. And then what happened was a chronic internet outage occurred in that region of the UK. So no one's fault, really. But the end result was basically me either playing Fire Emblem on my Switch or drinking at Weatherspoons for 2 straight days in the UK, not doing a tournament, going home, and then having to get ESL to lawyer up on these Lithuanian fucks to try and get paid for the event. I think people eventually got paid, but it was like trying to get blood out of a stone. It was a disaster. There were people that didn't get paid for 18 months or so. Just ridiculous. And I don't think that's the reason why Blizzard stopped having third-party events. I think they just didn't want to do it. I think they were very protective about like the image of Overwatch, which is so ironic because I mean Blizzard are so good at fucking their own image up. But it was definitely it definitely didn't speak positively of that. I'd like to go towards an era when they're like we have more of these third-party Overwatch events, especially I would like there to be a scene for women and underrepresented genders. That'd be fucking awesome. We'll talk about that today on Twitter. But yeah. My worst event, but also my best. I didn't have to work the event, but these Lithuanian guys, I forget the name of they probably don't even exist anymore. Was it Advancer? I don't know. I don't know. But they were also really fucking rude to Zoe, especially because she was a woman. They were straight up misogynistic to her. It was fucking unreal. Just completely disrespectful. So there you go. That's my worst event ever. Followed closely by the World Cup. The most recent World Cup that I did where like Blizzard just had no idea how to fucking set us up for any sort of form of success. So but yeah, be careful of random people from Europe or anywhere, to be honest, who don't know how to run esports events that try and do it, and then they start acting like fucking douchebags. So do not recommend.
Yeah, and like, ouch for MSI. Whenever you become a title sponsor and the thing becomes your thing, like you're branded, it's the MSI event, and you're not running it, you're just giving money. Ouch, right? Because it's one thing if it's the blah 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 tournament and they're a sponsor, but if it's MSI's turn, like in the name,
they goofed big time.
Yeah,
they didn't understand their product either, Scott. Their PCs were they didn't meet minimum requirements to play the game. Like it was doomed to fail.
Yep,
an absolute clusterfuck.
Yeah, the Lithuanians sold them a package they should never have been sold because they're the wrong partner to do it. Yeah, ouch, holy shit. Yeah, that's fucked up. And bummer, too, because that London Gfinity little movie theater, not so little, that movie theater setup, that's a nice little setup they got going there. That's a nice little event place.
Low overheads as well for them, I think, because it's a partnership with the movie theater as well, obviously, And the Gfinity guys were like, I genuinely, like, stage management and stuff like that, really pleased with them. I don't really hold them responsible for any of it because all this was sort of dictated to them. If they had been given control, they could have run what I would consider to be a decent event, even under those dubious circumstances.
So they got kind of white labeled, but only as production providers, nothing to do with helping fucking properly run the thing. Yeah, which is what they also do.
Exactly.
So yeah, ouch. Well, shit. Let's hope that those two are our worst ever, and they continue to be, and everything else we do is better when we all start traveling again. Well, you travel. I don't travel so much.